Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to us by one of our dear brother, and it reads like this. Hello, how are you, Brother Nashim? I am a Tonga man, and I am writing this to you because I want people to understand that these things, they are happening in broad daylight. And it was all because we lost a tender, and when we refused to do a satanic ritual, life became so difficult. And my friend, who used to be my boss by then, he said that in order for me to be able to return back the money that I used to have before losing the tender, what I was supposed to do was to perform some satanic rituals, and all was going to be returned back to me. I wish that I had never started this company. If I had never started a company, my daughter was going to be alive. I guess that this was the reason why my father ended up growing old without even starting a company. He did not want so much responsibility. He just wanted to be a worker and to live a modest life. But as for me, I wanted to build an empire. I wanted to build something that was really big. I did not know that business can become so difficult after you would have built up your life, and then all of a sudden you can end up becoming homeless. But when you are working for someone, it is easy because you won't be owing a lot of money to the banks. You can just look for another job, suffer for a couple of months, and then your life will be back together again. But when you are the owner of the company, it means years of suffering, because the money that you will be owing, it will be quite a lot. I was born in Guyana, and I was raised with strong Christian values. I trained as an electrician. My father as well, he was an electrician. He was trained in the farms. So whenever I would be on holiday, not at university, I would be working at ZZ2 farm with my father as well, but not working directly for ZZ2. But we used to go to this manager who was very close to my father, who taught me more about being an electrician. We would go and do some piece jobs, repairing the houses of other white people. So even after matric, I was someone that already knew everything that has to do about electricity. I could tube a house all by myself. It is just that I was not yet a qualified electrician. So I went to university. Then after university, I started working for small contractors, mostly white people around Limpopo, and then moved to Gauteng. I was someone that was honest. I was a hardworking person. I was reliable. Anyone that I worked for at that time, they really enjoyed me working for them, because you could be at your house, just give me a vehicle, then I go to where you would have sent me to go to and work, and I would make sure that I have done my work. And a lot of people, they respected me, even though I was not rich. I was just a broke guy. I got married to my wife, the love of my life. My wife, what I liked about him is that she believed in me more than anyone. My wife, she pushed me to register a company properly, because there were times when I used to get like your subcontracts, because other white people, they knew about me. They would call me, what are you doing these days? Do you have any work? No, I don't have any work. So my wife was like, you need to register a company so that we can run this thing properly. We did everything by the book: CIPC, tax clearance, CIDB grading. We then started attending workshops for people that had companies, and we prayed before each and every decision. So during those workshops, that was when we started to hear about us as little companies. We could also submit our documents of our companies so that we can be chosen for tenders. It was no longer about big companies that will continue to be having all of these tenders. I will adjust the years so that people won't know that it is I, since I used to have a lot of workers. I will say that it happened in the year 2014, even though this is not the year when it happened. So in 2014, the date that we have settled for my story, we got advice that the government was going to be rolling out electricity projects in deep rural areas, villages that had never had power before. We were told to apply. Even if you think you won't win, one person advised me just to apply. So we applied. I really did not care about what we were doing. To this day, I do not know how it happened, but we won the tender. My wife, she screamed. She nearly burnt herself because she was busy cooking. Then she saw that we had won the tender. I remember refreshing the email again and again, and I was like, these are Nigerians. Maybe they've suspected that we applied for a tender. They just want to scam us. I thought that maybe it was a mistake. My wife was like, there is no way that you can get an email by mistake. Just me, a small Tonga man with a small company from Guyana, someone that was not rich, winning a government electricity tender. My wife cried, like I told you. She nearly burnt herself when she saw that email. We fasted in church. We thanked God publicly, and money started coming. Money will make you do things that you never thought you would end up doing. And money will change your life in an instant. If you have never had a lot of money, you will never understand what I am saying. One morning you are poor. The next day you wake up and you are a potential millionaire. Millions started coming in. We hired staff. Already we had some staff. I had to hire other guys. We bought equipment. We worked hard, properly, no shortcuts. We finished the work on time. Houses that had never lights were glowing at night. And this was what I had imagined all my life. Life escalated faster than my wisdom. That is the difference between us as blacks and other cultures. When they are growing up, they are taught about money. Us as black people, you just grew up. Like in my situation, I was the first one in our family who had a company. No one had ever opened a company in their entire life. We literally did not even know what we were doing. So I did not have financial wisdom. I was a nice person to everyone, and people started taking advantage of me because I was a nice person, overpaying my workers. There is a reason as to why people don't get paid as much as they are supposed to get paid, because if you overpay your workers, you will be out of business in a very short period of time. So I lacked financial wisdom. I bought a big house in 4 ways. It was a gated estate. I bought German SUVs, one for me, one for my wife, then the sport cars. I really do not know how I got into those expensive sports cars. All of a sudden, I just wanted to drive a very fast car. You know, those little cars, when you are driving, people look at you, everyone would want you to speed off from the robot. It just made me to feel somehow. Cars that I did not even understand how to drive, those type of cars, but I bought them because everyone around me told me that as a tenderpreneur, you are supposed to show it. You don't drive a Ford Ranger as a tenderpreneur. You drive something big, something expensive, to show everyone that you are now a big boy. Inside, I still felt like a village boy wearing expensive shoes for the first time. Even my wife tried to sit with me down when I wanted to buy another G-Wagon. Yet we had 3 more that we had. And she said, what is the reason? And I was like, no, this one is the latest model. But in the previous year, we had bought other ones. I just wanted to keep on buying cars. There was a time when I used to buy cars as if I was buying bread. Well, when the project ended, I assumed that the next tender would come naturally because I now had a good portfolio. That is what I thought. It did not. We applied again and again and again. Nothing. not even a response. At first, I was not worried. We had huge savings. I had forgotten about those cars that I had in my yard, cars that costed a lot each and every month. As the months were passing, debts came. Maintenance cost for these cars, they were insane. These little sports cars, you will never be able to maintain them if you are not dealing in these tenders. The house alone was eating money every month because we had 3 garages, and in the garage you could fit up to 8 cars. That is how big our house is. Eventually we became subcontractors. I could not even believe it. Me, a man who once held a main tender. That is when I met a fellow black South African man who helped me survive. He was connected, he spoke calmly, and this guy, he told me that I was supposed to get back on my feet. Instead of him giving me financial advice, he actually told me that he wanted me to buy more expensive cars when I'll start to make money again. When he took me to his house, there was not even a single place for me to park my car. There were cars everywhere. Us black people with cars, I really do not know. So this man, when we were sitting having a meeting, he said to me, all this while you have been operating in the physical space, you are supposed to operate in the spiritual space. My brother, these tenders, they don't want you to run them on paperwork alone. I did not even understand what he meant by that. He explained it to me that the reason as to why he had so much money, whenever you would submit his documents to get a tender, if he wanted to, he would win it. He explained it, and he said that he always uses some type of a mutim that he got from Mozambique that he bathes with when he submits the documents. Does not matter electronically, or if he goes to submit those documents physically, the person that will be looking at his company profile will be blinded by that mutim and will choose his company. He said in order for you to keep on winning tenders, you have to use some rituals. And when he spoke about rituals, I told him that I was a Christian. He said, okay, it's fine. Since you say that you are a Christian, I'm not going to force you. He did not argue with me anymore. Instead, he said, then accept that your breakthrough already finished. We applied for another tender shortly after, and surprisingly, we were awarded it. So I took it as a sign that God had defeated that new friend of mine who wanted to make me to join Satanism. I even celebrated with my wife, and she said, you see, if we had agreed to use Muti, what were we going to do now that we have won a tender through fasting and prayer? Approvals did not come fast. As for the payments, hey, I saw flames. They were always telling me one story after the other. Suddenly, I was driving. I still remember. I parked the car by the side of the road. I was driving to Giyani. Just when I was approaching Ulukwane, that was when I received that phone call that broke my heart. The official called me, and I was told that there were penalties that were being issued. I said, penalties for what? And they said that there were penalties being issued for things that were not even our fault. It is a long story, my brother. A couple of documents that we had to sign. You know, it was just the devil working against me. Within months, the tender was cancelled. That was when reality came to me. God was no longer on my side. The bank issued a warning of eviction on our four-ways house. All of our cars, sports cars, SUVs, they were repossessed one by one. As for the debt collectors, they would call me 1,000 times on a daily basis, and debt letters would arrive daily. My wife, she started to develop high blood pressure. I felt like a failure. I felt like a fool. The same man came back to me and said, I think now you are ready to listen. He then told me that he had been assisted by one such friend who was from Nigeria, who had assisted him, and I agreed because by then we were about to lose the house. There was a time, my brother, that I did not even have a car, yet I was staying in a gated community in an expensive neighborhood, yet I had no vehicle. And the bad part about staying in a neighborhood where everyone is filthy rich, you'll see people parking 10 cars, yet you are walking on foot, a big man like me. He took me to Durban and he said that there was a business conference. I told my wife, and my wife said it's fine. Since it is a business conference, maybe God is going to give us a breakthrough. By then, I knew the truth that going to Durban, our lives were going to change forever. We left Joburg, there was no food in the house. When we arrived in Joburg that night, we were staying in a nice hotel and I had a nice room. What I thought was going to happen did not happen. There was no drama, there was no blood. And what I expected during the initiation process, I thought that maybe I would see the devil, but it was just like giving your life to Christ. You don't feel anything right, you just say the words. That was what I was told to say, to renounce Jesus Christ, to remove the Holy Spirit from my heart. I was told to worship the devil, and I then worshipped the devil in front of the people that were there. I was told to stop praying to God for any tender, but to honor the kingdom that controls the opportunities that happen on this earth, not in heaven. For tenders are not made for heaven, but they are made for this earth. I expected something terrifying, a demon, like when I said that, Lucifer, from this day onwards, do whatever that you want with me, for I am your loyal servant. Instead, it was just an oath, that was all. And I said, that is it? And they said, yes. They gave me a ring that I could wear if I wanted to at all the times. 2 weeks after returning from Durban, I woke up and I saw money underneath my bed. I quickly kicked all of that money underneath the bed again, and my wife, when she left the bedroom, that was when I took a refuse bin bag and I took the money and I started throwing it in there. Then I hid the money in the garage, and it was cash. I did not count it at first. I was scared. I tried to reach out to my friend and his phone was not reachable. Day after day, money started appearing. And then I told my wife that there is money that is appearing underneath the bed. When it reached 500,000 rands that we had cash in our house, my daughter died. She was studying at Univen in Venda, and she just passed away when she was at the place where she was staying. By the time that they called the ambulance, she had already passed away. So on our way to Giyani, I had already purchased a vehicle. It was just a normal sedan that we bought, that I had to use straight from the dealership, but it was a used sedan that I bought. When we were going to Giyani, something strange happened to me that made me to cry. When we stopped briefly, we were at this other garage just refreshing. It was me, my wife, and my other kids. I then looked and I saw that on top of the car, there was a coffin that was there, but there was no coffin when I asked my wife. But when I would check, I would see that I was carrying a coffin on top of the car, and my daughter, she was bleeding. She was inside of it. My wife told me to calm down because we're going to see later on and to talk about it. And then we buried my daughter. After I had buried my daughter, the rituals, they increased. And each and every time that I make so much money, I lose my son. And now I have only one son and one daughter left. And I have a secret son that I had with a woman that I dated, and I impregnated her. She is from the Eastern Cape. My wife, she does not even know that I have a son in the Eastern Cape. I pray that he survives, because what I heard when I was speaking with my friend, he told me that he impregnated a lot of women, just to make sure that his bloodline will continue. And since he has all of these bastard kids, like I have a bastard son, he said he is not fully tied to your name, not fully tied to your bloodline, and that will save him. I live with money. I no longer chase after tenders, and we always find money underneath our bed. I am writing this because I want to ask South Africa one question. When you see the same people winning tenders again and again, what do you think they paid? Blood or a bribe? As for me, my brother, I am using rituals to get my money. My friend, he is still doing that same business. He uses muti to win these tenders. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Let us try to talk about this in the comment section. Yo.